He's not sleeping. He's pretending. What's going on, everyone? Today, we're back working on this XCM panel here. It already maybe looks a lot better than the last time you saw it. I did a bunch of sanding, tried to clean up this circle. This was really rough, and at first I thought they used some kind of like circular attachment. I think they kind of eyeballed it, and it's not great. You can also see if we have the aluminum heatsink, it covers part of this grill, which, I mean, isn't really going to be a problem for what we're doing. There's a lot of deep scratches up here. I did put one layer of primer over it, and then I just sanded it again. I think you can still see these, but you cannot feel them. So I'm hoping with just one more coat of primer that's going to all be gone. Everything else seems to be pretty good. Obviously, there's still some more sanding we need to do. One thing I didn't notice till I started this process, there's a little dimple here. And it looks like somebody put a case screw in and just kept going and going until it started to come out the top here. So, I don't know. I would sand it all the way down, but I'd rather there be a little bump than a hole. I've been kind of figuring out the BMW build, our Need for Speed Most Wanted build. And when I thought of Need for Speed, the first thing I thought of looking at the X is like the impound strikes you get on the car, big red X. Release car from impound, you get those free markers and stuff like that. It also makes me think of Cross, the protagonist, or antagonist, protagonist, whatever. So I think I can kind of make this side, like your car's been impounded, make it some maybe details relating to Cross and his Corvette. Also gave me that idea was this little card that came with the model car we're using in this. Everyone? No, I plan on using the clear blue shell, but I think I actually want to combine the two. We're going to use this half because the back half of this chameleon shell is just not really going to be worth using in any way. The scratches on that one, first of all, they would have to be filled. I don't think there's any sanding that would get rid of some of the marks on that one, plus the whole back kind of missing a chunk. So I figured we can use this front panel, but I still wanted to use the blue back half of the shell from the clear blue shell. So clear blue back, XCM chameleon front. We will obviously still put that same grill back in here. I do want it to be paint matched to the rest. So another part was painting this shell. That way through the clear blue shell, you don't just see like the regular silver. I feel like having a black background on that's going to look nice. Furthermore, the board that was in the clear blue shell with the BMW faceplate that I kind of test fitted and all that, that was the RGH3 Jasper Chronos. But I want that board. I got that one for water cooling, and I don't actually want to water cool this one. I want to go full air cooled, so I've decided we're going with our JTAG Zephyr. Now this has been updated from Blades so that it can actually play all the games, and digitally I have a good amount of the Need for Speed games, including Most Wanted. And when this is all said and done, I am going to attempt, I haven't done it myself before, I've kind of been walked through it, so I sort of know the steps to get it back to the Blades menu, but still be able to play all the games from that menu. Now our hard drive situation, as I said, this will be air-cooled, no DVD drive, screw that, especially this one, it has a BenQ. We're going to go dual aluminum heat sinks, like the tall ones, on each GPU, CPU. We'll have to make a custom fan shroud that accommodates the larger heatsink on this side, which we have done before. And then besides that, I kind of just want to put like a fan going this way on each heatsink, one right here, one right here. So I guess this will actually be useful. Like I said, there's just not much I can do here. I'm going to have to put the grill over this, at least to cover the holes or get some sort of grill. It's a 70mm grill, so kind of an awkward size. And then we're actually going to have our hard drive internally in here, but we are still going to have it plugged in here. So before I get this chassis painted, I'm going to cut a little section out of here so that this can be plugged in, but the part that actually plugs into the hard drive can be fed into the inside. Whether we have to extend those wires or not, that would be pretty easy. I'm going to kind of use this as an example. I already cut our top vent. So this is going to go, straight down into a hole right here. And then you'll still be able to put your vent over top of it and put everything on like normal. So, we got this model car a little while ago, to use in this build. And to be honest, I was going to use it just like I have any other Hot Wheel or model car on an Xbox before, whether it's on the inside or on the hard drive, something like that. But this is not just a Hot Wheel. This is the equivalent of 40 or 50 Hot Wheels. And it came in such a nice little display case here. This is just what I pictured. And to be honest, originally I pictured being able to, pop it in and out if you wanted. But because this case is slightly tapered towards the top, it just wouldn't work if we made this hole big enough to where this can come in and out. It's just going to fall out when you have the system like sideways or something like that. So what we actually did, it's fed in through the bottom. There you go. So technically you can still pop the hard drive off, take the couple screws out, and pop this thing out if you want it somewhere else, I guess. And then you can unplug the little hard drive at the top and just like plug in your own, I guess, if you want to. Now this is apparently, unless it's fake, 999, and this is number 262. So not the rarest thing ever, but definitely a pretty rare, cool little collector item. See the same cutout there on the bottom part of the hard drive, and that's why we have this back far enough so it's not going to affect where that plug is. We are also going to use, pretty sure this is the exact paint I used on the Barricade build. It says oil rubbed bronze, but essentially it's just a really nice metallic black. I kind of just plan on doing this, and honestly the whole top and bottom. To put some lights in here, I was hoping to put the flashing red and blue in the back, so it kind of looks like there's a cop somewhere behind him in the distance, and then we can just put UV or white or something up front just to kind of illuminate the case. But yeah, it'll still have the mechanism in there. It's just going to come in and out like a normal hard drive. If you remember the Wavy Tube Man build, this was actually the board in that one. It already has 3-pin hooked up here. It actually did when I first bought this system. That is the plan here. I'd like to add little details like I did on the Transformers builds, little quotes and things like that. The side will kind of be like your cross, the guy trying to get you. You got BMW up here. Now what's kind of cool about this build is, we have that Halloween build, and that motherboard's 20th anniversary is on Halloween Day, and just a couple weeks after that is the 20th anniversary for Need for Speed Most Wanted. We got another coat of the primer on this. I put some metal primer on this and then installed it, and then we put our metallic over top. Now this piece is still drying. And then we did the same to this, but added some color shift. For reference, this is a dry part with that metallic. It really becomes almost satin, which is why at the end, we're going to put the high gloss clear on there. It's going to end up looking like this. And we've got our metal frame painted as well. Not going to worry about clear coat on this one. But one thing I do want to eventually add, I'm going to have to figure out how, but I'd like to add the blacklist. Problem is, I can't draw and my handwriting is awful, but luckily the blacklist, literally the list of 15 members that are kind of crossed out as you defeat them, that's just what I want to put over the back, whether it's with a paint marker or regular paint with a small brush or something like that. I'll have to figure it out. Got our hole cut there. Cut the grill out in the back. Kind of want to just do this to all builds no matter what. Alright, we're back over here. We got the heat sinks on the motherboard. I threw this on here just to kind of check. Obviously we're going to have to eventually paint the fan tunnel once we finish that, but I am super happy with how this came out. Yes, the hole is not ideal. The little bump right there is not ideal. All the scratches are gone up here. This came out really smooth. Now to the inside, you can see our hard drive mounted right here, and this is just the 120 I have from the other Xbox I've been actually playing on. You can see the hole here, how that works. You can still plug this in, you can unplug it, feed it through the hole, take this off, or vice versa. You can take that side off if you want. Our top vent is made to fit right over top of that, but for the rest of this kind of test fit situation, what is that? That looks horrible on here. I could barely see it in person. That's, well, we've got more heat sinks. We could put a different one on. However, for the rest of this test fit, we're not going to worry about that top vent at all. We don't really need it to test fit our hard drive on there. Well, our non-hard drive. You put the window on here up to this. We'll leave this open for now. Same with up front. We're going to leave this open as well. And we're just going to kind of test it that way. And honestly, even if it's running fine that way, or maybe it's still a little warmer than we'd like, I do plan on putting like a bank of fans across here. At least maybe a few where the disk drive opening is, feeding the GPU mostly, and then we'll still try to put one kind of facing downwards right here next to this heat sink, right where the grill is. Fan tunnel. So, roughly cut out this section. I'm kind of test fitting. I think what I'm going to want to do is take another fan tunnel and kind of cut this section off and see if we can kind of graft it onto this side so that it also kind of overlaps the heatsink a little bit. See if we can make it match this one. And because of this little kind of curve in here and how it kind of curves downward right there, I think that's going to help us out with trying to match it as closely to this section, and we'll just have to come up with some kind of adhesive around there. Alright, we had trimmed this a bit more. Got this piece trimmed also more. And this kind of fits right in there. We'll have to trim a little bit more of that little edge so this can sit, you know, a little more flush up against that. We're looking good at the top. So this could pretty much meet up there across the top. We'll have to still seal up a little bit that edge, and the only problem is going to be this corner over here. We'll have to kind of rebuild that with probably just some of the scraps from these pieces. Now, just to make sure, I have no fan in here at all, so we got to go throw a fan in there so that this is sitting exactly where we need it. And here we are. So, I did in fact go back and use the actual adhesive stuff. I did tack it with hot glue to kind of hold it in place where we needed, and then I'd just been using the adhesive. This stuff here basically just becomes permanent. I mean, once it's fully cured, which does take a while, it is dry enough to kind of, you know, it's tacky, it's not going to be goopy, but it should be good enough to put it back in, test it out, and then obviously we will finish this off by painting it. You can see it's all sealed there on the inside. I broke off other smaller pieces from what we had left over, fill in the gaps there. Perfect. Like I said, I want to get the plexiglass on here, but just go up to here so that this is still open. And I mean, if it's useless, we can cover it. I can't do much about removing the grill because it's hiding the mounting holes. But I don't know, we could put like a car rim there or something, worst case scenario. So now I need to get rid of this little mounting case screw because obviously there's a second part of a fan tunnel there now. So let's take another piece of plexiglass off my display case that is in shambles anyway, because this guy will run into it at 100 miles an hour, face first, with his giant nose. He's not sleeping, he's pretending. So to be honest, we're pretty much where we can throw the rest of the shell on and give it a test, but I do want to add at least one set of LEDs first to see how that's going to work out. Something that's going to illuminate this top box here. And then here I kind of planned on either red or white, maybe a combination of the brighter LED strips on the underside, obviously. Just like a short one here, excuse me, and we'll see, maybe just with the two, we'll see how much that lights up. And then we can go back and add more flashing red and blue to like the corners, and we could put all the flashing lights on a switch, just like on Barricade. So to add that, here is our DVD drive cable, and we've got it looking kind of wild. Obviously we cut the other end of it off. And what we need, this is the part that goes into the motherboard. You got your two empty ones on the bottom. These two right bottom ones we need to loop together so that it still thinks there's a DVD drive and it doesn't freak out. You can get rid of actually all three of these and this one up here. And then your two center ones right there is going to be your 5 volts, positive on the right, ground on the left, and then your two top wires here is your 12 volts, positive on the right, ground on the left. So we'll get rid of these other ones and we'll splice in our LEDs. So I'm kind of banking on these wires being long enough to solder it directly to our LED strip. We've got a small strip here. You can see those little copper pads is where you can cut the LEDs, and we're literally going to cut it to be one section long. It's just easier to solder on it while it's still not an inch long. We put just a little dot of flux on those two spots. Now we're going to add a little bit of solder to those pads and then just connect our two wires. There we go. Coat it in some solder. Alright, well, I knocked the camera over putting the wires on, but positive on the right, negative on the left. So we've got the DVD cable plugged in. This is the 5 volt just capped off for now. We'll use that for LEDs. Eventually, we've got the loop right there, so it still thinks there's a drive. And then you can see there's still plenty of length on this, and we'll be able to kind of stick it to here. We might even be able to go on top of this whole thing. There should be just enough room. And then our hard drive, you can see these are where you mount this in the shell, these 4 screws here, but they also have the same screw holes on the side, and they use the same screws. So we just line this up with some of the holes on the side, put those 2 screws in, that's going to hold it in place, plug it in, and then we should be ready to test this out. There it is, nice and sturdy in there. Let me just plug this in. Good to go. Got the back panel on. I think that's going to look great when we add the blacklist on there and some lighting. Put a random bottom vent on there for now. No use risking scratching that up. And as I said, we're not going to worry about putting the top vent in. We're just going to place our hard drive right over top. There you go. That LED might be a little too tall right there. We'll have to see. Faceplate is on, and I did mention changing up the letters. I kind of want to put M3 down here and move these BMW letters up here so they're above that circle, and we can put GTR in our window. Once we do that, we might just have like a partial window and part intake. Alright, we got our controller from the half and half build. I'm actually going to transfer this stuff over to a wired controller and use this for this build. Not quite as bright as I thought. I think we'll have to face that LED more forward towards the car, but it almost looks like its headlights are on. See here. Alright, processor's already up there. About to hit 60 already. Everything else looks good. We'll try turning the fans up and just running it for a while, see if we can get this to cap at a certain temperature. Alright, there we go. Even at 65, it's already starting to go back down. Obviously, the noise isn't ideal, but I think adding that bank of fans up front, we can definitely have this a bit lower, and it should stay at below 60. At least on the CPU, everything else looks like it's going to stay low. And the good news is we still have this half of the shell, so I can still use this in the water-cooled situation. We got this Jasper here with the short aluminum heat sinks. I like putting the pump right here. You can only do that with those shorter caps there unless you move a whole bunch of stuff. And I really don't feel any type of way about splitting up this shell. We sort of did that with the ruby red, at least with the faceplate. And I don't know, I think I can just make more pretty awesome builds with that stuff if I kind of split it up. I think the mixture of the two on the BMW build is really nice. Even though that third-party faceplate isn't really a fan of being attached to 2 different third-party shell halves, but there's only one little space at the bottom there that we'll have to try to get to clip in, otherwise it seems to match up everywhere else. This one here, I can definitely say we're not going to do that, even though I guess we did take the fan tunnel out and the eject button and I guess the bezel here, but we always planned on having this one water cooled and we wouldn't really need any of that stuff anyway. But yeah, this 1 of 100 shell is not going to get split up. Well, I'm 99% sure. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the BMW build so far. Are you a fan of Need for Speed Most Wanted? I'm sure if you played it before, you probably liked it on some degree based on the popularity of the game. That one's going to be a nice little tribute for the 20th anniversary of that game, which is probably in about a month or so. I don't remember which day exactly in November that game came out. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. Check out the membership, and we'll see you in the next video.